Welcome to our podcast, The Skin We Live In. And today I want to speak about the very important page in our skin life, about mitochondria. Mitochondria, they're very small organelles. They quietly decide how our skin ages. So it's absolutely important. They're so tiny. They're really microscopic structures, but they're often called the power plants of the cells. And despite being so small, they really define the cells and body energy, and doing much more than that. They produce energy, they shape how our cells respond to stress, they influence information process, and they even are able to talk to our cells' genes, promoting active longevity patterns or the opposite one. So, in the aging research, mitochondrial dysfunction is recognized as one of the biggest part of the aging, the biggest characteristic of the aging, and in the line of hallmarks of aging, mitochondrial dysfunction is the first in the antagonistic part of aging. So, they are our friends who start to behave like an enemy at some point. And even there are now some modern hypotheses called aging spiral theory, invented by Dr. Masato Hiki. And this theory is really putting the mitochondria in the center of aging. So, I want to speak about all of this, and I hope it will not be boring, so you will know more about your energy plants of the cells, and you understand better how our body and how our skin regulates the energy level. So we will talk about skincare ingredients, about sun protection, about the lifestyle, so stay tuned. So first of all, what are mitochondria actually? Fun fact, they're not exactly cells. Mitochondria, they've been at the very source of the life beginning on the planet Earth. And everything started as bacteria. So mitochondria of human cells, they literally began life as bacteria. But they spent like billion years in the three-way conversation from bacteria to our genes and these viruses. They've been borrowing, trading, defending different types of genetic tools until the moment that they become the part of animal cells. The mainstream view, it's called endosymbiotic theory. So it is something which we need to survive, which we need to function in our cells. Mitochondria very probably was originated as bacterial eukaryotic cells, one of the very first one, very ancestral, born billions of years ago, and it was engulfed by some protobacterium. And they became symbiote. They started to live together. Most of these bacterial genes moved to this host nucleus, leaving mitochondria with the small circular ancestral genomes and very specialized energy-producing roles. Viruses are not thought to be creating mitochondria, but they enter these pictures in different ways. So our mitochondrial RNA, ribonucleic acid, can accidentally behave like a viral RNA in some situation because it can leak out from mitochondria, triggering some alarm, the same alarm as antiviral alarm in our body. But some viruses are clever enough to attack our mitochondria. For example, cytomegaloviruses can do it, and it's bind complex, affecting our energy production. And it's kind of the really unpleasant cytomegaloviruses disease. So, mitochondria, they are ancestral bacteria still living in our cells, almost in all our cells. except for red blood cells, erythrocytes. The best known job of the mitochondria, they are able to do their magic. They turn the nutrient and oxygen into the energy, which called ATP, adenosine triphosphate. That's kind of energy currency all of our cells use for everything. In the skin, they're using this ATP to making collagen, pumping out lipids for the barrier, producing hyaluronic acid, or fight free radicals, or eliminate zombified, retired cells, senescent cells from our skin. They are producing energy for immunity reaction. They are producing energy for the inflammation, for activation of inflammation, and for reducing of inflammation. So literally nothing, including the cell death, cannot go through without this energy uptake. Each reaction with glucose in the Krebs cells in our skin cells, as well as the body cells, bring us 36 stable currency of ATP, which should be used here and now, locally, in the time when it was produced. And that's how we live. Everything in our body live with this currency. It's kind of biological dollar for our body, this ATP stuff. So, why we speak about the mitochondria like about something really kind of almost mysterious and so important? First of all, because mitochondria just maintaining the cellular life. No energy, no life at skin cells. Using my favorite metaphor about the luxury skin hotel management, as a metaphor for the skin agent management, let's say then in the luxury hotel, you can have the best stuff, you can have amazing furniture, design, crystal chandelier, best beds, big walls, restaurant, but if you don't have electricity, nothing will function. Blackout means death for skin cells. That's why we need mitochondria so much. But what is very interesting about the mitochondria, first of all, they come from bacteria, right? They are kind of very ancient bacteria traces living in each cell of our body. But also DNA in mitochondria is very specific. First of all, we inherit mitochondrial DNA only from our mothers. Nothing from fathers enters in the frame of mitochondria of our genes. So both sons and daughters get the mitochondria from an egg and never get them from sperm. And when geneticists traced mitochondrial DNA back through human population and as many human generations as they could, they found that all living human share a most recent common maternal ancestor. That's why mitochondrial DNA is called Mitochondrial Eve gene, because we all have this heritage from only one woman. What are mitochondria in our cells? What are functions of mitochondria in our cells? They're very busy organelles. In keratinocytes, cells of the epidermis, they are responsible for the energy production, for proliferation of keratinocytes, skin renewal, restoring of the skin formation, differentiation of the cells, and the barrier function of the cells. In the deeper layer of the skin, in fibroblasts, our mitochondria producing the energy powering collagen production, elastin production, hyaluronic acid production, and some other proteins production, but also for production of enzymes controlling collagen, elastin, and hyaluronic acid. Because, for example, hyaluronic acid is a very short-living polysaccharide. In our body, that's only 15 grams of hyaluronic acid circulating in total, and 30% of it, 5 grams, is renewed every day. So every 72 hours, we have completely new hyaluronic acid circulating in our body, except for hyaluronic acid injected in your face if you do it. This will be old because it's stabilized, cross-linked, and it will live in your skin for few months, and even some traces can be found in years. The latest traces I read in the research, it was found 15 years later. And it's a subject of other discussion. You can listen to the episode about hyaluronic acid in our podcast, but just imagine everything is produced only because the small Eve genes of mitochondria are still active. In the melanocytes, pigment cells, the power plants are responsible for powering the pigment production and pigment destruction. In the immunity cells, power plants are helping us to get the security control, the immunity reaction, and so on. So we have 9 types of cells, and in each cell we have mitochondria powering absolutely all process in our skin. How it's related to the aging? Recently, I read a very interesting book called Aging Spiral Theory by Dr. Masato Hiki. And what is really amazing, he is the founder of the skincare brand called Mediflora, and very friendly. I love them all. And Dr. Masato Hiki, he is an author of the hypothesis which puts the mitochondrial decline can be the center of the vicious circle, at least in the skin aging life, but also probably in the body life. So how it works? With age, mitochondrial function drops. So we have less of our power dollar, ATP, energetic currency, circulating in our body. We have less of carboxyl production, carbon dioxide. Lower level of carbon dioxide weakens the so-called Bohr effect, so the release of hemoglobin and oxygen into the tissues. So your skin is less oxygenated. It creates the effect called hypoxia, so your skin is not breathing as deep as it should. Hypoxia triggers the stress in the skin via different pathways, and it suppresses even further the mitochondrial metabolism. And suppressing the mitochondrial metabolism leads to even less of ATP energy production and less of carbon dioxide, so the spiral continues and continues. So in this view, the aging is a progressive, self-reinforcing, vicious circles, collapse of mitochondrial energy and oxygen handling coming at some point to the so small amount of energy and small amount of oxygen, then it leads to the cellular death and to the tissue death. It is an elegant concept, especially speaking about the brain, muscles, and the skin, but I see it as a very passionate and very elegant hypothesis and mitochondria-centered story that fits ideally inside of the story of the whole 12 hallmarks of aging. Because mitochondria are not acting alone. We have 12 hallmarks of aging. Mitochondria is very important, but all of them, they should be seen as equally important because they're interacting with each other. Mitochondrial dysfunction, it is the first hallmark in the category of antagonistic hallmarks of aging. First of all, we have these original troublemakers, which starts at the day when the baby is born. So genomic instability, epigenetic alteration, our body starts to adapt to the new environment, to the new condition. It changes how our body behaves. It's changed our cells' behavior and cells' functions. And 5 of the primary hallmarks, they start to develop from the very first moment of our life. But mitochondrial dysfunction starts to develop later. It is the biggest difference. And until some point, probably until mid-20, late 20, mitochondria in our skin function perfectly. But a little bit later, when all these errors, genomic instability and proteostasis loss are starting to accumulate, it leads to the dysfunction of mitochondria, and antagonistic hallmarks are seen as a accumulation of like human errors. When the staff in our hotel, which means some good intentions, they want to do something good, but they start to make these small mistakes, like mitochondria start to produce too much of energy at some point when we don't need so much of energy. They don't produce enough of the energy at the moment when we really need it, for example, for immunity response or for the new collagen synthesis. And also, as we see mitochondria as power plants, like a very powerful battery, they are starting to leak. And why mitochondria are so absolutely crucial for our skin? Because they involved in literally all process happening on our skin at the same time. We have two types of process in our skin and our body. The first part, they are anabolic process, and the second part, they are catabolic processes. Anabolic processes, they are like bodybuilding. In anabolic, we build something. We produce collagen, we produce hyaluronic acid, we produce ceramides, natural moisturizing factor for barrier function. Our body produces antimicrobial peptides when it's needed and when it's asked by immune cells. So all of this requires the energy, requires this energy dollar, ATP. Catabolic processes, they are processes of destruction, and we need them as well, because we cannot only produce in our body. Hyaluronic acid, once produced, should be destroyed and reabsorbed and reused. So our body functions by this, sustainability rule: recycle, reuse, and so on. Also, that's a big part of the housekeeping process, autophagy, and actually disabled autophagy, disabled housekeeping. It is a part of the primary hallmarks of aging, which starts to accumulate from the first day when baby is born. And this housekeeping is very important. So our cells, they are not drowning in this intoxicated environment. When our skin is young, all extracellular space, which we call extracellular matrix, is constantly cleaned up, so no toxins are accumulated inside. With an age, this process became less efficient. So we see some fragments of collagen here and there. We see some bacterial fragments, probably fragments of proteins, and different types of debris, which are hoarded in corners around the cells. And it interacts with the cell's communication, and it just intoxicates the whole environment, leading and promoting the age-related changes, leading the zombification, senescence of skin cells. Because in the clean environment, our skin are fresh, happy, nicely working, able for all anabolic processes in the skin. When the environment is not cleaned enough, nothing works well, exactly like, in the human society. Also, some DNA repair, some antioxidant recycling, all of these processes, they are ATP hungry. Despite they are not built on the synthesis, they are built on destruction, but destruction takes energy as well. And also the skin renewal is very much energy consuming. So when we have enough of energy, our skin renews fast enough. So the gold standard of the epidermis renewal, that famous 28 days, right? But when we became older, in our mid-30s, late 30s, it's starting to slow down, and it slowed down even further. So in the skin of 60-something years old women, The epidermis renewal can take up to 2 months, not 28 days. And later it will be even more slower. But what happens if we try to stimulate the skin renewal? It takes even more energy. And if you don't have enough energy, if your mitochondria are not active enough, they cannot produce the clean energy for this process, you will just irritate and inflame your skin instead of having the healthy skin renewal. And actually, it's what happens when you're using stimulating ingredients on the skin which wasn't properly prepared. When your skin has not enough of energy, it's no point to use chemical peels or dermabrasion or retinol-based skincare. It doesn't bring energy to the cells. It just creates an inflammation. And anyway, your skin cannot renew in this condition. So mitochondria are essentially only serious power plants for every type of processes in our skin. Without stable energy production, you cannot do anything. No building, no cleaning. So something has to give. And our body, our skin, start to be very selective in choosing what should be done and what is not. Because when you have just this limited amount of energy, you pick up. And probably you will pick up security, right? Immunity reaction, antibacterial protection. Maybe you will try to rebuild the barrier. But maybe you will not spend so much energy on the cleaning process because somehow, okay, we will survive. Maybe you will not spend so much energy to the collagen. So it's leading to the skin degradation, to the loss of elasticity of the skin, loss of skin resilience. So the skin is thinner, weaker, it forms wrinkles, it accumulates pigments that became dull. The skin color is uneven, and simply speaking, it looks aged and it doesn't function properly well. So from an active longevity perspective, I am absolutely agree with Dr. Masato Hiki that we should protect mitochondrial function. It is not a niche idea, it is central. Probably we should start with protecting mitochondrial function and oxygenating the skin. So first thing to take, it's like guaranteeing stable electricity supply if you luxury skin hotel. Without electricity supply, no amount of repainting of wall, no amount of designer's furniture will save you. So, how we can provide our skin cells with this energy supply? How we give electricity to each of our hotel room, to each of our hotel department, from storage to restaurant and spa? First of all, let's see what we can do in the daily life. Speaking about the skin, ultraviolet protection is absolutely crucial because ultraviolet, it is a radiation and it's one of the strongest inducers of the mitochondrial DNA damage. Our Mother Eve genes are very sensible to the ultraviolet and very sensible to the oxidative stress. So if your skin is exposed to the intense ultraviolet, to the intense sun rays, you should absolutely protect it with daily broad spectrum SPF 50 plus if needed. And if the ultraviolet index is higher than 4, and especially if it is higher than 6, it's better to use the protective clothing and different types of intelligent avoidance of the ultraviolet exposure. This smart avoidance called shadow, by the way. Don't be exposed to the direct sun rays. Obviously, the situation is very different in different parts of the world. Me, personally, I am from Scandinavia. We don't have any ultraviolet during the winter time, so we are out of danger. But if you live in Spain or Florida or Australia or Israel, you should protect your skin carefully, and very probably you should do it on a daily basis, like 365 days in a year in some geographic location. And it is absolutely non-negotiable because you eat genes, your energy plants should be protected. Do it for your mitochondria. And also, don't get this illusion that if you apply sunscreen on your skin, you can stay on the beach during the midday. You cannot, because no sunscreen can protect your skin for 100%. It just helps to protect your skin. Another thing to energize your plant. So the ultraviolet protection, it is very much important to protect your mitochondrial structure, the machinery of your cells for producing energy. But if they're healthy, if they're not damaged, we can activate the energy production. We can get more energy. We can train our mitochondria. As they can be trained in two ways. First way, physical activity. Yeah, I know you probably been expecting me to name some amazing supplement, right? But it is not. It is a physical activity. It takes 1 hour of your time every day to recharge your mitochondria. If you are working out on a daily basis, even for the short time, even 15 minutes or 30 minutes, it recharges your power plant. So please do it. It improves the mitochondrial biogenesis. It helps to eliminate aged mitochondria and replace them with fresh mitochondria. And fresh mitochondria will energize your muscles in the first place, but it's absolutely relevant for the skin. When your muscles are well trained, when the circulation in your lymphatic vessels and your blood vessels is good, you will get enough of oxygen, which your red blood cells bring to every cell, every part of tissue all around our body, and especially into the skin. So better circulation, better oxygen delivery, better nutrient delivery, they're absolutely crucial for your mitochondria. And fun fact, well-charged power plants are controlling inflammation as well. So if you activated your mitochondria on a daily basis, you get anti-inflammatory effect, not only for your skin, but for your body in total. And you control the inflammation, because this low-grade inflammation is also crucial for the aging. It's one of the hallmarks of aging. Another thing, sleep. Sleep is super important for your mitochondria. Mitochondrial function is very timely. It's tightly linked to circadian regulation and to all repair process. Paradoxically, we need more energy in skin cells during the nighttime than we need an energy during the daytime for the protection, because regeneration, repair process, they are more energy consuming. During the nighttime, we build and we clean. During the daytime, we maintain. So if you don't sleep well, your mitochondria cannot function properly. First of all, they regenerate themselves during the nighttime, but also they are controlling all this repair process. So if you're experiencing some sleep disturbance, if your sleep schedule is unstable, you should absolutely work on it. And you feel it. If you wake up without energy, it means then your mitochondria haven't been charged properly during the nighttime. Another thing about the mitochondria, balanced nutrition. If you don't have enough of nutrients, your cells cannot function, because our mitochondria, they are using nutrients to produce the energy. But the most important things, and you should not overload your mitochondria with sugar in the first place, because excessive sugar and excessive food loads, they are overloading, overcharging mitochondria and creates the oxidative environment and high oxidation risk around the mitochondria. So it is probably the second most important tool which is scientifically proven to be efficient. First, it is physical activity, and second one is, I will not say hunger, but the limitation of the calorie intake. You should not be too full for your mitochondria to function well. If you eat too much, paradoxically, you weaken your power plants. You should be slightly under eating to keep your mitochondria energetic and alive. And actually, it's very much linked to the active longevity. So we should be reasonable with the food, but balanced diet, rich in the whole healthy food and rich in omega-3 fatty acid, rich in polyphenols, they are scientifically proven to be very supportive for mitochondrial and antioxidant system. So look for Mediterranean diet. Look for the healthy diet which is full in fresh vegetables, fresh fruits, enough of healthy proteins and healthy fats as well. But no over-processed food, no sugars, please. You could use supplements to re-energize your mitochondria as well. They're probably the best supplements to energize the skin and mitochondria all over the body. It is coenzyme Q10, which is actually very much recommended for the regeneration and healing process after different types of cardiovascular diseases. So it's one of the few recommended supplements by cardiologists. And also astaxanthin is energetic antioxidant for our skin and our body. So both of them, they're shown protective role against the ultraviolet damage as well and against the oxidative stress. What you should think about as well, that's the stress management, because high level of cortisol triggers the inflammation in our body and our skin. We cannot avoid stress. Stress is the salt of life, like the founder of the stress theory, Hans Selye, said once. You cannot eat anything without a salt all your life. So we will meet stress, we will get stress in our life. The problem lays in our reaction to the stress. We should not overreact. We should learn how to control, how to manage our stress reaction, to keep our cortisol level under control. And obviously, sometimes the environment, the external world just bring us too much of challenge. And it's very difficult to keep you under control and keep your stress reaction under control during wartime, for example. But we should work on it. Stress control is absolutely crucial. So sleep, diet, physical activity, stress, and movement, they are all part of the active longevity strategy. It's not magic. It takes daily efforts, but it's absolutely essential. What we can do as a topical strategy, so easily speaking, what we can find in the skincare to support our mitochondria. Actually, there are a lot of mitochondria supportive skincare right now. First thing to support our mitochondria, they are antioxidants. Because mitochondria themselves, they are very sensitive to oxidative stress. Free radicals such as ultraviolet radiation as a source of free radicals easily damaged our mitochondria, as well as smoking, as well as air pollution. And in the same time, aged mitochondria, they are like leaking battery. And when battery are leaking, they are leaking with free radicals as well, with reactive oxygen species, which damage the whole environment into the cells. Because you remember, mitochondria is the rest of our ancestral bacteria living into the cells. So when mitochondria is leaking, it intoxicates the cells in total. When it intoxicates fibroblasts, it cannot produce the quality collagen, and it starts to transform to the senescent cells. Same thing for pigment cells, same thing for immune cells, for keratinocytes, for everything. So, antioxidants, they are protecting mitochondria from external damage, and they protect the cells from the internal damage, from the leaked mitochondria. And if we can control it, it really prolongs the mitochondrial active life. What is the best antioxidant to support mitochondria? Astaxanthin. That's no competition. It is very strong carotenoid antioxidant, which can localize in cell membranes, and it's really efficient for mitochondrial protection in the first place. In the skincare, it's used in the sunscreen formulation, in the formulation helping to repair the skin after the ultraviolet damage, but in the formulation designed for the mature skin and aged skin as well. Another great mitochondrial antioxidant, resveratrol. It stimulates fibroblasts. That has many actions. It's epigenetically active as astaxanthin as well, but also it is able to protect mitochondria almost as efficiently as astaxanthin. Next one, our good old friend niacinamide. Amazing. Epigenetically active and protecting mitochondria at the same time. Also coenzyme Q10 as well acts externally and internally. Vitamin E, tocopherol, it's stabilizing membranes in the skin cells, but alpha tocopherol is able to reduce the oxidative damage of mitochondria and prolong the life of mitochondria into the cells. Vitamin C, more or less, and some other plant-derived antioxidants such as flavonoids, isoflavonoids, polyphenols from different berries in the first place. So when you see blueberry or raspberry or strawberry or cranberry in the skincare formulation, go for it. They are good for your energy plants. Peptides. We have about 600 peptides registered for cosmetic use now, and the whole category of peptides are helping to, most of them, they're signaling peptides. They're helping to protect mitochondria from the damage and also to prolong life of the mitochondria, to maintain the active. So very often when we're using peptides in the formulation, they act as boosting agents, helping to produce more of active proteins or hyaluronic acid into the skin. But in the same time, they support the energy level, which is necessary for this production. That's why I love peptides so much, because they are coming full hands. They are not only stimulating, they are bringing all necessary to get this stimulation right. And most of them, they're epigenetically active. One of my very favorite energy-producing ingredients, it's a probiotic targeting mitochondria. It's called Sirtulis, and it's also called mitochondrial recharger. It is a marine-derived fragments of living bacteria living in the deep of the ocean and the very cold water. And it's active specifically and known specifically for its effects on the mitochondria respiration, leading to the better skin firmness. It gives so much energy to the skin, it activates the ATP production so much, and it cleans the mitochondria inside so efficiently, then you can see results almost instantly in a few days of use. You apply the skincare with the necessary amount of the Sirtulis, and you have this lifting, shaping, what called V-face effect. I've been using Sirtulis and our Circanite cream because it helps so much to achieve the best repair and best regeneration during the nighttime. But also a lot of people, they love to use Circanite like an instant beauty tool, because you apply it and in 1 hour time, you look so much more energetic and your skin feels so much more energetic. It acts epigenetically, but also it stimulates the synthesis of microproteins involved in the respiration of mitochondria. So it helps to bring more oxygen to the mitochondria, activating this energy dollar ATP production. So it's kind of the example of the very innovative mitochondria supportive skincare ingredients. And now we have more and more of them. So in the upcoming years, you will probably see more of energy-driven skincare formulation. So probiotics, prebiotics, postbiotics, peptides, but most of all antioxidants, they're all very mitochondria supportive. So mitochondria-aware skincare strategy, it's not kind of anti-aging cream. It is skincare which supports your energy level in the skin. And it is something which you should use on a regular basis, twice a day, since your early 30s, to avoid this loss of energy and loss of vitality of your skin. So look for antioxidants, look for peptides and prebiotics and probiotics in the skincare formulation, but also think about your lifestyle. And remember, physical activity, sleep, nutrition, and stress, they are key driver for your body and your skin active longevity. So the good news, you could support mitochondria from both sides. You could support the most ancient part of our maternal heritage. Our Eve genes is still alive in us, despite this first woman which bring us these energy genes lived many thousand years ago. But still, she lives in us, and it depends on us to keep her energetic. So remember how to do it. Be smart, be strategic. Do not fight your age. Keep the lights in your skin cells and the energy in your skin hotel as long as possible. When you have the energy, when you have an electricity, you have an ability to manage everything and to maintain your skin, your luxury skin hotel, which you live all your life, well lightened and beautiful for very long years. I hope it wasn't too complicated as a story. I love the story about mitochondria. If you want to know more about some specific ingredients, about some skincare formulation, please leave the comment on our socials or on the platform when you are listening to this podcast. And like it, share it. Talk about our podcast to your friends. It can be useful to live happier and to look healthier in your skin.